It was a day Max had been dreaming about for weeks. The winding forest road seemed like a gateway to adventure as the Thompson family drove towards their weekend camping trip. Max, only 8 years old, sat in the back seat with his face pressed against the window, his eyes wide with excitement. The dense trees, the soft sunlight filtering through the leaves, and the thought of sleeping under the stars filled him with joy. Today was the day he'd finally explore the wild outdoors, and he couldn't wait to start his adventure. As soon as they arrived, Max jumped out of the car, eager to explore. The campsite was bustling with activity. His parents were busy setting up the tent, and his sister, Lily, was organizing the supplies. But Max's attention was drawn to the forest. The towering trees seemed to call out to him, whispering promises of hidden treasures and secret paths. Just a few steps, he thought, just a quick look. His mother's voice echoed in his ears, reminding him to stay close. But curiosity had already taken hold. Before Max knew it, he had wandered far from the campsite. The trees around him grew thicker, and the sunlight dimmed as it struggled to break through the dense canopy. He turned to head back, but the path he thought he'd been following was gone. Panic started to creep in, but Max quickly pushed it down. Stay calm, he reminded himself, recalling the lessons from school. He knew he was lost, but he also knew that panicking wouldn't help. He needed to think, to remember the safety tips his teacher had taught him. Max started walking, trying to find his way back, but every direction looked the same. As he wandered, he came upon a small stream, its waters rushing quickly over the rocks. It wasn't wide, but the current was strong. Max remembered what he'd learned in school. Always test the depth and stability before crossing. He found a long stick and carefully prodded the stream bed, moving slowly and cautiously. Step by step, he made it across, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and pride. He was still lost, but he had conquered the first challenge. But the forest had more challenges in store for Max. As he continued his journey, he heard rustling in the bushes nearby. His heart skipped a beat as he imagined what could be lurking in the shadows. But then he remembered his father's advice. Animals are more scared of you than you are of them. Make noise, and they'll go away. Max grabbed a stick and began tapping it against a tree, his small voice singing a shaky tune to scare away any hidden creatures. The rustling stopped, and Max felt a surge of relief. He had faced the unknown and come out unscathed. The day was fading, and Max knew he needed to find a safe place to rest. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the forest floor, and the temperature was beginning to drop. He remembered learning how to build a simple shelter in school. Gathering branches and leaves, he created a small refuge near a fallen tree. It wasn't much, but it would keep him safe and warm through the night. As Max huddled inside, his thoughts drifted to his family, wondering how worried they must be. He was scared, but he knew he had done everything right so far. He just had to wait for them to find him. Back at the campsite, the Thompson family was growing increasingly worried. Max's absence had turned from minutes into hours, and there was no sign of him. Mrs. Thompson's calls for her son grew more frantic, while Mr. Thompson and Lily scoured the forest, calling out his name. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Max's shelter grew darker and colder. The chirping of crickets filled the air, and the once comforting sounds of the forest now seemed eerie in the approaching night. Max's small hands gripped the edges of his makeshift shelter as he shivered, not just from the cold, but from the loneliness that had started to set in. But just as he was beginning to lose hope, Max heard something faint in the distance, his mother's voice. His heart leaped with a mixture of relief and excitement. It was faint, but it was there, calling his name over and over again. He scrambled out of his shelter and listened carefully, straining to hear where the voice was coming from. "Mom, Dad, I'm over here," Max shouted with all his might. He jumped up and down, waving his arms, even though he knew they couldn't see him through the thick forest. He started running toward the direction of the voice, his small legs pumping. The calls grew louder, and soon Max could hear his father's voice as well. Tears welled up in his eyes as he ran faster, guided by the familiar voices that meant safety and love. And then, through the trees, he saw them, his parents and Lily. "Max!" Mrs. Thompson cried out, dropping her flashlight and running to her son, pulling him into the tightest hug he had ever felt. His father was right behind her, wrapping them both in his strong arms. Lily, too, was there, tears streaming down. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." Max sobbed, burying his face in his mother's shoulder. "I got lost, but I remembered what you and Dad taught me. I stayed calm, I crossed the stream safely, and I built a shelter. But I shouldn't have gone away." His mother pulled back slightly, looking into his tear-streaked face, and gently wiped his tears away. "You were very brave, Max, and you did everything right. But yes, the most important thing is to stay close to us. We were so worried about you." Mr. Thompson ruffled Max's hair, his voice steady but full of emotion. "We're proud of you, son. You remembered what we taught you, and you stayed safe. But next time, you need to remember that being brave also means making the right decisions." Lily, still holding Max's hand, chimed in. "We love you, Max. Just promise you won't wander off alone again, okay?" Max nodded earnestly, his heart swelling with the love and relief of being reunited with his family. "I promise." Later that night, the family returned to their campsite, where the fire was now burning brightly, casting warm, dancing shadows around them. Max, wrapped in a blanket, sat between his parents, who had not let go of him since they found him. The fear and worry had melted away, replaced by a profound sense of gratitude and love. As they sat around the fire, Max recounted his adventure, this time with a clearer mind. He told them about crossing the stream, facing the unknown sounds. When he finished, his father spoke gently. "Max, you showed incredible courage and used the skills you learned very well. But the most important lesson here is to always stay close to those who care about you. It's okay to be curious and adventurous." Max nodded, the gravity of his father's words sinking in deeply. "I understand, Dad. I won't forget." His mother hugged him close once more, kissing the top of his head. "We're just so happy you're safe, Max. We'll always be here to keep you safe." The night continued with the family sharing stories, laughing, and enjoying the warmth of the fire. Max felt a deep sense of belonging, and though he was proud of his bravery, he knew that he had learned an even more important lesson. That's some. The next morning, the sun rose on a peaceful campsite, the events of the previous day now just a memory. As they packed up to head home, Max looked out at the forest one last time, feeling a sense of respect for its beauty and its dangers.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more fun songs as well as interesting and enjoyable stories.